Shoot your arrows! Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Woods, touchdown! LA! Dog goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge. And Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride! Wow!
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Reto got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did!
Racing down the sideline is Akeem Talib. Gurley for MVP! Touchdown LA!
Picked off by John Johnson.
Well, Dante Fowler, who is able to get to Breeze. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl! LA will play for the Lombardi!
All right, joining us on the podcast, we have Victor Evans, Mississippi defensive end. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
No problem, man. Thanks. Everything's pretty good right now. Just enjoying the process, taking it day by day.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to start this off, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
Say that again.
Just to start this off, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
Oh, man. That's a story that started so long ago, really. I didn't even start playing ball till probably my sophomore year of high school. Like, I played, but I never even touched the field before until, like, maybe the end of my freshman year, yeah, at my true position.
Yeah, and, growing up, who, if there is anybody, who is your favorite football player?
I would say LT, just because he showed that, he's still a human. He's still a human going through everything that he went through. And he just went through a lot of things on and off the field. And the fact that he still performed the way he did and came to work every day like he did in his drive and the way he played, that's the real deal, just what set it off as him being my all-time favorite.
Yeah, and when it came time for you to play in college, you obviously ended up playing at Mississippi. What was the main factor for you in choosing them?
Really, it was a lot of things that motivated me to make that decision. Ole Miss was really my only SEC offer, and I was getting riled out. I was getting talked about a little bit, you know what I'm saying, because that was my only SEC offer, and people felt like I wouldn't be able to make it in that level. And I remember people saying, oh, you're not going to play until maybe your third year just because it's an SEC school. And I felt like I had a point to prove. So I wanted to challenge myself and playing in one of the top conferences in college football. So that was one of the main things. And then when I got there, I just felt welcome. I felt a whole different type of energy from just where I've been playing at. And, I was just ready to make that move.
Yeah, and then, obviously while playing at Ole Miss, what was your favorite memory or even like a game that stands out throughout your college career?
A game, to me, like all-time game that I will always remember will probably be the Arkansas game that just happened this past season. And I say that just because I could have said any other game from when the games where we won the Sugar Bowl, the years before we had the all the bans and all the other things that happened to us as a team. But that game set us apart different as a team, just to let you know, like, how we can come together even when things aren't at their best. And that was my first game back from an injury. And I know I had a lot of slack to make up from just missing games and being hurt or suffering from different injuries. So that game I had stood out. That was probably my best game that stood out, and we came out with the win. So that was just a game I always remember.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you went up against a lot of tough competition, obviously playing the SEC and playing at Mississippi. But is there one guy who stands out to you as being the toughest guy you went up against in college?
I have went up against a few, but I would say the toughest guy I went up against, I practiced against, and his name was Laramie Thompson. He plays for the Dolphins now. should be a Pro Bowler in my opinion, but I practiced against him every day for at least for my freshman year. And that guy molded me in a totally different way that would prepare me for just going against anybody else. So I would say Larry Thompson.
Yeah, and then, as a player, what would you say is your biggest strength? Just kind of biggest strength of, all the different strengths that you have in your game.
I feel like my play speed would set me apart from other people, and the fact that I take it into I study the game. I'm not just out there just playing the game and being athletically gifted. I actually take the time to study the game so I can be prepared for it, and I can prepare myself for it. So I take the time throughout the week to get myself on a mental level to where I can perform how I want to perform or play how I want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as the draft approaches, what's the biggest area that you're looking to improve on?
Really, I just want to get up on that level and learn. It's all about, I feel like you should always start with, when you enter a new stage of football, it always is about learning. I'm ready to just go to whatever team I go to, wherever I want to go, or wherever I do go. I just want to take the time and pick up the information quick and be able to learn and be able to play how I want to play or play how they need me to play and just be able to blend in with the guys that's been there and try to just perform to a level that's higher than I've ever played before.
Yeah, of course. And, what do you bring to the table in this draft that no other edge defender in this draft brings?
It's a lot of good guys in the draft. It's a lot of good guys that's projected, that's pass rushers, but I think it's just the hands and attention to detail is the best way I could put it, is what I would say separates me from anybody else is the fact that I pay attention to the details and I make sure the hands is where they're supposed to be at. And you can't coach heart, in my opinion. I mean, you can't teach that. So I just know that I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and this next question is just kind of a fun question we like to ask defensive guys. But what quarterback would you most want to sack in the NFL?
Tom Brady.
Popular answer.
Just straight up Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. I'm not even – that was a no-brainer. That was too easy. Tom Brady.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Alexis said, we definitely do get that a lot. Is there, an offensive lineman that you want to, go up against as a pass rusher?
Tyrone Smith.
That's definitely a good one.
Another good pick.
He's been a model of consistency for, years. So
yeah,
that'd be a fun matchup for sure.
Yeah, Tyrone Smith, and I want to meet up with my dog LT again.
Yeah. And, we are a Los Angeles Rams-based podcast, so we ask every prospect that comes on our show. Have you met or spoken with the Los Angeles Rams yet?
No, I haven't. My college coach told me there was a bit of interest there, but, it's just the process. Guys might not say anything to you. Guys might say something to you, at least in my position. So I just haven't been worrying about it, but I'm just going to keep my head down and work and just pray for the best opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think that's definitely an important way to look at it. Something I want to ask, if there's anybody, who have you modeled your game after?
I can't necessarily say I model my game after anybody. I pay attention to certain guys. Like, I watch a lot of guys. Like, I watch Von Miller. I watch Melvin Ingram. I watch Aaron Donald. I watch all sorts of positions. I watch Bobby Wagner. I watch football. I watch front seven. I watch all of it. So it's not necessarily I'll pick off anything from anybody to pick off of, but, I see everything that everybody does and just try to make it a part of what I'm supposed to do and what I can do. I don't necessarily just – everybody does something great, and I just try to put all of it into me.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up in your own words, who is Victor Evans, the player, and who is he as a person?
I was always taught you are who you are on the field, who you are in real life. So if you're not necessarily scared of anything, you're going to do your job 10 times out of 10 on the field. You're going to be that person. You got to be that same person outside on the field. On the field, I know that it's not always about size because I ain't never always been the biggest or the fastest or the strongest. But I know that I'm supposed to bring my heart into what I'm doing, and I'm supposed to be there for my teammates 10 times out of 10 and do my job 10 times out of 10, no matter if it hurts, no matter if I'm broken down or hurt. You know, it's just playing football. You know, you got to do your job no matter what. So I know that I'm that same person off the field, or I'm working to be better every day to be that same person on and off the field. So I'm just going to bring my heart into it. I'm not going to half-step it. I'm not going to cut it short. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to put my heart into it.
Hey, you know, that's all you can do, man. You know, love that answer. You know, best of luck, Victor. It's been a blast interviewing you, and you know, let's keep in touch. Good luck with the draft.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one, Victor.
You too.
All right, guys, join the show. We have Stanford offensive lineman Brandon Fanaika. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
For sure. I appreciate you guys for having me, but all is well over here on my end. So,
Of course, and just to start this off, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
So growing up, I actually had been playing baseball my whole entire life, and I kind of started playing football just because of my size. But I started when I was in 7th grade. I mean, up until high school, baseball was still my favorite sport. But I think, you know, once I was able to really excel in high school, I think football kind of took over, and I guess the rest has been history. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, who's your favorite? I guess I'll ask 2 questions because you brought it up. But who's your favorite baseball player? Just curious. And who's your favorite football player growing up?
Growing up, my favorite baseball player was always Sammy Sosa. Just because that dude could freaking launch the ball. And it was always fun watching him in like home run derbies and things like that. And then growing up, I think my favorite football player growing up was Warren Sapp. Just because I had a bunch of football cards and baseball cards, and those are 2 guys that I always liked, like collecting as far as cards. And but even just kind of watching him, he was just a beast on the field. So those are guys that, you know, I really enjoyed watching as I grew up.
Yeah, and you know, when it came time for you to play in college, you ended up playing for Stanford. What was the main factor for you in choosing them?
You know, I think just the combination of academics and football. I mean, their football program has been a really solid football program in recent years, and you know, I got on campus and just absolutely fell in love. But you know, it wasn't too far from home, being a Utah guy, so that, you know, definitely helped a lot when coming here. But you know, just the type of people that's on the campus, just, you know, what you get academically and then what you get as far as football. I think that, you know, it was just really tough to turn down.
Yeah, I hear you there. You know, Stanford is awesome. They're just one of the premier programs for sure, and obviously you have to be really smart to go to Stanford. So,
yeah.
You know, obviously it says a lot about whoever you're interviewing. You know, okay, this person went to Stanford; they know their stuff. So, you know, with that being said, though, you play in the Pac-12, and you know, I just want to ask you, you know, throughout your Stanford career, is there anything that jumps out as the most memorable moment?
As most memorable moment, I mean, I guess any of the times that, you know, we had beat Notre Dame, I think those are, really good memories just because they're always really good games. And, most of them, it really just come down to the wire. This past year, Oregon, I think, we had, I'd heard, at some point of the game, there was like a 97% chance that they were going to win the game. And I think, we had just completely defied, all laws and, going back to win in a place, like that, you never, that's something that I'll always remember. So.
Yeah, for sure. And, you went up against a lot of tough competition during your time in college. Is there any one player who stands out to you as being the toughest guy you went up against?
The toughest guy, I'd probably have to say Vita Vea from Washington. Just a really big dude who's powerful and fast. And, something that, really makes a defensive lineman dangerous. He had all of those characteristics. And, that was, the type of player that he is, being able, it's kind of tough to, have a plan against him because he can do so many different things. But yeah, he's just, an absolute force, in college and in the NFL as well.
Yeah. And, you had your pro day. What was that experience like for you?
It was great. All the NFL teams were able to make it out, and it was just really good. I was really happy with how it ended, and I think being able to just show how I move as a player. I think when we did the football drills and things like that, I was really satisfied with how things went. Just kind of showing my athleticism and my ability to move around. So.
That's awesome. And, what is, in your opinion, your biggest strength as a player?
My biggest strength as a player, I definitely have to say my physicality. That's, one thing that I always try to, one bar I try to set high is just playing physical. A lot of the guys that you go up against, if you can just set that tone real early in the game, it's hard to keep up with. And so that's one thing that, I always try to make sure that, never falters is just how physical I play and, how nasty I am on the field.
Yeah, and what's one area in your game that you're looking to improve upon?
I think one thing that, I can always improve on is pass pro. That's something that's definitely not as easy, I would say, for anyone as run blocking. But, I think I've put a lot of really good efforts and, I've seen a lot of positives come out of, the work that I've put in with pass protection.
Yeah. And, just looking, at your own game, is there any player that you've modeled your game after or, tried to take elements from their game and put it into your own?
Yeah. So, Brandon Sheriff from the Redskins, he's just an absolute beast. He's, someone who's extremely physical in the run game and in the pass game. And that's, just kind of watching him throughout my college career. He stepped in as a rookie and, played right away. And so just, I try to watch a lot of his film, has great technique. And that's someone, I try to model my play after. Yeah,
I definitely think that's a great pick. He comes from Iowa, and it's incredible to see, the type of guys that they're putting in the league. But but you played on an offense with guys like Bryce Love and Christian McCaffrey and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and KJ Costello is going to be one of the up and coming quarterbacks in next year's draft. So what was it like to play with all those guys?
Man, it was really fun. Come game day, those guys, you could always, trust that those were guys that were going to do their job, do their 111th. And just, throughout the week, practice, those guys are, they really take practice seriously. And, that's not a characteristic that, that can be found in anyone. And just, really good leaders as far as preparation and then execution. I think it made the game really fun, on game days because, obviously the film never lies, but, they were, really, really good players. And just being around guys like that, I think just made everyone better. So it was really good, and it was really fun as well.
Yeah, and, this next question is just kind of a fun question we have, but who would you most want to, go up against in the NFL?
In the NFL, that's a good question. There's so many good defensive linemen in the NFL. It's, I think it'd be really fun to go against, some of my old college teammates like Harrison Phillips or Solomon Thomas. Just because those are, in college, those are guys who, as well as, great competition as far as getting better and seeing athletes like them. So I think it'd be super fun to go up against them, but, you always have, the guys at the top, like Aaron Donald and Fletcher Cox and things like that, I think. So it'd be, but yeah, as far as, I think it'd be really fun to see, my old college teammates again.
Yeah, it gives something for the Stanford faithful to definitely cheer for on Sundays, for sure. But, I want to ask you, we are a Rams-based podcast. Have you met or spoken with the Los Angeles Rams throughout this pre-draft process?
My agents have talked a little bit with them. I haven't talked at all, but my agents have said, they've reached out and expressed, a little interest here or there. So.
Yeah, well, we certainly like to hear that there's been, some contact there because we are big fans of you and would love to see you end up a Ram. But, no matter where you go, we're going to be fans and be cheering you on and watching you succeed at the next level for sure. But, just to wrap it up in your own words, who is Brandon Fanaika, the player, and who is he as a person?
I guess I'll start as, as a person. As off the field, I would consider myself a nice person. I get along with, I try to get along with everybody and, just a nice guy. But, I think when it comes to the field, you have to switch. You have to turn that switch on. And as a player, just, someone who's, brings physicality at, the highest level. And, just being able to, I think the combination of just knowing the game, being smart, having that mental aspect coming from a program like Stanford, and kind of adding that to the physical play that, that I bring, I think, really speaks a lot. And I think, it's something that teams really take interest in.
Yeah, it's definitely a player that, I think any NFL team would be lucky to grab. Brandon, we wish you the best of luck. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we'll be rooting for you, regardless if you're wearing those horns or, some other helmet, you're on a different team. We are going to be fans of you. So, let's stay in touch, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, talking with you guys. So thank you guys for having me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one, Brandon.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, joining the show, we have Austin Peay, offensive lineman, Byron Glass. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
I'm doing pretty good. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. And just to get this started, we just want to hear a little bit about how you got into the game of football.
I started about when I was in the second grade, and I really got into it by my brother. I had an older brother who played. He also played in college, and watching him play. I used to play with my friends in the backyard all the time, and eventually I was like, I might as well, if I play in the backyard, I might as well sign up and actually play for real. So that's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And growing up, did you have a favorite player in the NFL?
I did. So growing up, I lived in 30, 45 minutes outside Atlanta, and I used to love watching Michael Vick play football because he'd make some crazy moves, and it was electrifying just going into the Georgia Dome and watching him play.
Yeah, absolutely. He was definitely an incredible player to watch. And when it came time for you to play in college, you ended up choosing Austin Peay. What was the main factor for you in choosing them?
The main factor for that was actually coming out of high school. That was my only offer, and I didn't get it until about 3 weeks until the end of the season of my senior year of high school. So I went up there and visited, and it was nice. And they told me if I measured in at 6'1", that they'd offer me, and they stayed true to their word, and they offered me.
Wow, really straight to the point there. If you measure in at 6'1", we'll offer you.
Yep.
That's that's something else. I've never even heard of that. But with that being said, obviously you go there and you have a great career. Take us through your most memorable moment of your college career.
It'd probably be, because when I got there, we were on a losing streak. In my first 2 years playing Austin Peay, we lost every single game. So we were 0-22 in our third game, my junior year. We beat Morehead State. I think the score was 69-13 to break the losing streak. And it was a packed house. And at the end of the game, everyone rushed the field. We tore down the goalposts and everything. And it's kind of that whole year, we went 8-4 that year and should have gotten the playoffs. And it kind of just turning the program around that's probably the most memorable moment, was that first win.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you went up against a lot of tough players during your time in college, but is there one guy or maybe a couple guys who stand out to you as being the toughest people you had to go up against?
I think toughest guys. We played UCF. They had a pretty good nose tackle. I can't remember what his name was. Tristan Hill, that's his name. And they were on a double eagle defense, so he was head up on me the whole game. He was pretty good. If I had to pick one, that's probably the one I'd pick.
Yeah, Tristan Hill is, I think he's the best nose tackle in the draft. So, I mean, that's definitely...
He's quick and powerful. That's what kind of made his game pretty good.
Yeah, no, we love that question because there's never just one guy. You all play different schedules, so it's always really, fun to hear everyone's response on that. But, I want to ask you, how was your pro day and how well do you think you did?
Actually, pro day went great. I thought I did pretty good. All the scouts told me I killed it. They told my agent I killed my pro day, and it was a really good day because training for 10 weeks straight for it. You want to have the day like perfect as can be, and the weather was good. Everything lined up perfect. And there's about 15 teams there, so I was able to put on a good performance.
That's awesome. It's good to hear for sure. And you're a player of many strengths, but in your opinion, what is your biggest strength as a player?
I think my biggest strength would be physical attribute would probably be my athletic ability, which I think is very helpful at center, like reaching on outside zone plays, getting out and running, or screen plays. And I've always been kind of athletic, and that's one of my main strengths. As far as mental, I think my preparation and film study and being able to break down a defense, of course, being center, being able to look for certain keys, like the safeties walking down, if there's a blitz coming, just watching the whole defense. I think that helps me out a lot also on the mental side.
Yeah, and Byron, I want to ask you, we ask everybody this based on position that comes on the show. What do you bring to the table as an offensive lineman that no one else in this draft brings?
One thing I think I bring, I'm an athletic offensive lineman, which is always, in the draft class, is always going to be athletic offensive lineman, but I think my work ethic is very good. I think coming from an FCS program, you kind of got like a chip on your shoulder because you kind of have to I think you have to show out a little bit more to get to the next level, obviously, because you play, as they say, not a good competition, but I've played against some FBS teams where the FCS players I've played against have been better than some of the FBS players. And I think that chip on my shoulder, my athletic ability, and my mental preparation and work ethic is one thing that I can bring to the table that teams will be very happy with.
Yeah, and this next question is just kind of a fun question we like to ask offensive linemen. But who would you most want to stonewall in the NFL?
I don't really know if I should answer that question or not. I think I might want to just leave that one off.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to put on any targets on my back or anything.
No, totally understand that. We get all sorts of answers. We get the best of the best. We get everyone. We get, certain players. We get players that, these guys played with, in college. So yeah, I hear you. But I do want to ask you, we talk about your strengths, we talk about what you bring to the table. What do you feel you need to most improve in, as far as your game as a whole, going in the NFL?
No, as far as me, I'm very picky when I watch myself on film. Like I always see the little things that some people may want to see that I need to fix. As far as what I think I could fix the most, I think sometimes my hand placement could be a little better than it is. And of course, every offensive lineman, pad level is always something you can always improve, but I think sometimes my hand placement could be a little bit improved.
Yeah, and we are a Los Angeles Rams-based podcast, so we ask every prospect that comes on our show, have you met or spoken with the Los Angeles Rams?
I have not. The Rams, I did talk to the Chargers, but I don't know how you guys feel about them since you're Rams fans, but the other team in LA, I talked to them after my pro day, but no, not the Rams.
Well, hey, we're fans of you, so we're glad to hear, you're talking with teams. And, I'll tell you right now, the Rams, there are guys in the past that they haven't, spoken with and they've actually drafted. So, you never know. It's a chess game in the NFL, and you never know, what the approach is going to be for a draft prospect.
Yep.
Yeah, and, just to echo off that and to, wrap it up in your own words, who is Byron Glass, the player, and who is he as a person?
I think as a person, he's a very caring and loving person who's very loyal to the people he cares about, which includes family and friends. And he'll do anything he can, everything in his power for them. And I think as a player, he's a very hardworking player, will not take no for an answer, and will do anything it takes to accomplish his goals.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer to that question. Byron, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate, the work you're putting in for the NFL draft, and, we'll be rooting for you. Let's stay in touch, man.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you again for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
All right, you too.